Now we're talking about these early plugs that GE Telechron used on their clocks. Before 1932, they used this kind of system, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so you have this female end on here, and your power cord, and this female end here would plug into your clock. So I had these like sockets on the back of the clock that these plugs would plug into. So you can encounter kind of two problems. One, you get a clock like this, which uses this old style cord, or two, you buy the clock and it doesn't come with the cord. So I'm going to talk about both of those. Now the biggest problem with these is if you can see this right here, if you can see how deteriorated that cord is, that's not safe, and we don't want to use that. So we would have to replace the cord. Now, I have heard that these cords are dangerous, and I actually don't think that's true. Okay, I don't think that's true if they are rewired properly. And what I have here is examples of the female ends of these plugs that have been wired properly. So if you look at this one, this is the top half, this is the bottom. That's the way they're supposed to be wired. Same with this one, same with this one. Okay, but in taking these apart from ones that I've acquired, I see all kinds of different variations, which are in fact either just plain old dangerous or not as safe. Okay, this is probably the worst offender right here, and you can see where those wires are exposed and could touch each other. Also, all of these, if you pulled on the cord, you could have that kind of problem. So, you know, something like soldering in there, not as bad, but still, doing it properly should not be unsafe. If it's done the way it was designed, it shouldn't pose any danger. So there's two kind of systems that I found that GE Telechron used. One is where the female end of the plug would plug into this metal piece, and this metal piece would be screwed to the case of the clock. In this situation, the female end here, I mean the male end here, is riveted to this piece of metal, and they don't separate. Okay, this is out of a Denmore. The other type looks like this. This is an Apollo, and this piece right here is actually screwed in to the case. It looks like this. This center screw right there screws into the case, and you take the female plug and plug it in. So this can actually come out by removing this center screw. So some of them you can take this out. Some of them you can't. So I'll show you a Denmore / Constance where it hasn't been removed. So this is what it looks like, and we can unscrew this and take it out, but that's a rivet there. So the male part of the plug there is attached to this metal part here. It's not going to come apart. So the real problem is not that this is unsafe. Okay, this is unsafe, what's been done here, taking a shortcut. This is not unsafe. Okay, the real problem is this. Doing this is a royal pain in the neck. All right, so I can understand why when people rewired these plugs, they just took a shortcut. This is seriously no fun to do, but it can be done. So one of the things that makes it difficult is you have to have the wire separated at just the right point, and you have to have the wire stripped at just the right length for it to look good. Otherwise, it's not going to look good. So, this is one that I did. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So, this is new cord, okay? And so you can see as it goes in, the wires are together, and they've got to separate in there, and then you have to have them cut off at just the right amount in order for the insulation to still be where it needs to be. So the way you take these things apart is very simple. You just take a flathead screwdriver, put it in there, and you've got a nut over here which won't turn because of the shape of the case. And once the bolt comes out, bolt, screw, whatever you want to call it, comes out, then the nut will drop out and the thing will open up. Okay, so what I've done is gone back and looked at ones that were done properly and taken some measurements. And this is what I use. All right, and what this is showing you is this would be the cord right here that you're using to rewire it. And if you take it and you put the cord on there, it shows you where the wires right there, that line is where the wires should be separated at. And then this line right here is showing you the distance the insulation should be removed, so that you get a situation like this where it goes in, they're still connected, but then separates, and you have the exposed wire where you need to connect it. So when I look at this, it is, if you have your wire, you should separate the wire at 43 millimeters or 1 5/8 inches. Okay, and you should cut off the insulation at 5/8 inch or 15 millimeters. So if you do that, then you wind up with a cord. You won't have to struggle with having it look all sloppy or not having the insulation where it needs to be. The big deal is, after you've done this, you have to take one of them and you have to have it go around the inside like that. And this side would not have the insulation on it, would connect. The other side you have to put on the other half and bring it around and connect it. And all that mess has to stay together in order for you to put the little bolt and nut back in and hold it together. And that is really not fun. What I found helpful is to take the first wire and put it in there, and then take a hair dryer on high heat, clamp it in there, using whatever, and then take the hair dryer on high heat and heat up the wire, and it'll be a little more elastic and settle down in there. So so that's the deal. It's like you can redo these safely, it's a lot of work, and it's a pain in the neck. Now let's move on to, what if you have one of these clocks, you get one of these clocks and it doesn't have the cord, you're not interested in getting a cord. Well, first I'll say this to you. When I work on this and rebuild it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glass tape. I'm going to wrap this coil in glass tape, and I'm going to cover that in liquid tape. Okay. These leads coming off the coil are not like the later coils that were used with the H rotors. There's not a nice place to disconnect them and reconnect new wires. So what I would do what I have done with these older ones is I take a shrink tube, which is big enough to fit over the existing wire, okay, and insulate it that way. Now, as for connecting the other wire, there's sort of two directions you can go. One direction is you can take new lamp cord, and that new lamp cord, you can attach these quick disconnect boots. So you put one on each of the leads you're using, and you attach a plug on the other side, and you can simply take your clock and slip one over one of these and one over the other, and there you've got power to your coil and your rotor. So that's an option. Now, one thing to notice is that all this thing is doing is providing you with a way to get power to the leads that are coming off the coil. So if I wanted to not even mess with this plug situation, what I could do is I could drill a hole in here, okay, big enough for my cord to pass through, okay, and I could just put the cord in there and attach it right there to those screws. And that would be an alternative. If I did that, I would pull it through, put a knot in it so it couldn't pull back through the hole, attach the stripped wire to these screws with the coil wires, and then I'd have the power I needed to run my clock. So those, and you know, if you're looking at something like a Denmore or a Constance, like I was talking about, you take this out, you put your hole right here, and then your cord would go in and connect right there to those screws where the coil wires attach, and you've got power. So those are some options if you're interested in rebuilding these kinds of plugs. I have had good luck with this type of vintage cord, okay, which is what I've used for my Apollos. Not any different really, but what you have to do with these cords, although they look a lot nicer, I think, is they're kind of a pain in the butt. I use the same guide that's right here, put the wire down on it. So I'm going to cut this off at that first mark. Then I made a mark where to strip it. So I'm going to strip it there. But this cloth likes to unravel. And so what I do after I cut the cloth, and I cut the cloth with a razor blade very slowly, just going around because I don't want to cut the insulation. Once I can remove the cloth, I just take a lighter, go like this, and then after I've done that, what I do is I take some super glue. In this case, it's some Gorilla super glue gel, and what I'm going to do is just spread that super glue gel right there so it doesn't come unraveled. And with any luck, these ends right here are going to be inside the plug where you won't see them, and we're going to get something that looks nice like that.